Hey guys, good morning. Very first thing for our education this week about brain balance is going to be keeping it simple, okay? I think this is one of the biggest challenges that I have had since I've integrated myself here. When someone asks me, well, what is brain balance or what do you guys actually do? The goal is always to keep it simple. All right, guys. So when I explain brain balance to a parent, I do it from a very similar perspective to how we talk about stress in the human body. Okay. But obviously, the biggest thing is kind of relating it back to primitive reflexes as the core as the core premise of how and why this works and why their kid continues to struggle. So, if we look at the brain, okay. So, guys, just as we've always discussed, we talk a lot about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, right? The stress response, etc. And some of the foundation of what we do at Brain Balance is very, very similar. You know, you have your frontal lobe, right? Your cerebellum, and down here is your brain stem. Okay, so just like we talked about, when you're a baby, you have specific neurological circuitry that's meant to help keep you alive, right? Help you survive in the wild. And those are called primitive reflexes, okay? Those primitive reflexes are housed in your brainstem, okay? Your brainstem, like I said, it carries all of the sympathetic fight or flight neurological circuitry for from birth till death. All right, that's where that sympathetic system lives. Okay, now when we look at these primitive reflexes, right, like your rooting reflex, your startle reflex, your grasp reflex, all those sort of things, I want you to think about essentially those stimulating your sympathetic system. Okay. And now you have a situation where you have a competition, a tug of war, right, between your brainstem and your frontal lobe. Okay. And very simple analogy, right? If you're playing sports, you can't play both offense and defense at the same time, right? And so for these kids, neurologically, they never stop playing defense, right? Their brain cannot continue to develop and create synaptic activity between lobes of the brain, right? And between the two hemispheres of the brain if we're constantly playing defense. All right. And so we cannot continue to grow if these primitive reflexes continue to stay active. All right. So this kind of plays back into that pyramid sort of diagram, what we went over when everyone came over to the office, where those primitive reflexes are the base of that pyramid, right? Followed by gross motor, followed by fine motor, right? And then up here is life, right? That's walking, talking, having social skills, academic skills, behavioral skills. That's what makes us a human, okay? And so if we continue to have this level of the pyramid missing, right, or kind of still being a problem, then we're going to have problems with gross motor development and fine motor development. So we're not going to have much of a life, right? And so we are uniquely positioned to identify and suppress these primitive reflexes. There's no other provider, whether it's a family doctor, pediatrician, OT, PT, speech therapist, you name it, none of these providers look for primitive reflexes. All right. It's one of the biggest things that sets us apart. And I think it's a humongous opportunity for us to educate using a system that we already know and trust. So, guys, hopefully this lays a great foundation for you to start your Monday. Have a good one.